I'd like to bring up a panel of our coaches that you heard from yesterday, and we're going to go through some of the questions that you had. So let's bring to the stage Tara Carr, Melanie Mitro, Doug Fitzgerald, Katie Hefner, Mark Klanik, Trina. Give them a round of applause. I am so grateful not only for these coaches, but for all the coaches that participated in the pilot groups that we ran. So let's get started with some of the questions that we had. Here's one. Mark, let's start with you. This is a Google Hangout question. First of all, do you need to have Gmail, the Google version of email, to be able to do a Hangout?
Yeah, technically you do not have to have a Gmail account, but I will tell you that it makes everything a whole heck of a lot easier, just for compatibility reasons. So if you can encourage them to make a separate account, even if it's just for this group, that'll really help out when the emails get sent out and everything. So it just makes everything a lot easier to use Gmail.
And I know that several of you can address this, and I know you spoke to it a little bit, but I've had a lot of questions about, I have more than 10 that want to do the group. How do you handle the Hangouts? And not only that, but then how do you find a time where everyone can be on the Hangout? How do you do that? Who wants to throw their hat in the ring on that one?
I actually think Melanie has a really great strategy with this. I've seen her implement it, so if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Where I run 2 groups. So last month I had way more than 9, and my new coaches were signing up coaches so fast that I wanted to empower them. So I let everybody be in one big group, but then I had several small breakouts. And so what I did was at the beginning was I set up, these are the times for the Google calls, sign up for one. And the max amount of people is 9 people in a Google Hangout. And so I was able to come up with 3 different times. It was a little stressful on my end, but I said to my husband, bear with me for the next 60 days while I do these calls. But what it ended up happening was it empowered all the new coaches. Now they can now run their own, and everybody got their needs met. So that's how I handled it on a larger scale.
And I want to clarify, it's 9 plus the leader, so it's 10 total. So just give you that little tidbit. That's awesome. And so, and that's how I did the pilot groups with all the leaders, right? I just said, you're the leader, right? This is your business, so you have to set the schedule. So I gave them, here are the choices. You've committed to do this, so pick one. And that's how you can do it as well if you have a larger amount of people doing the group.
One other thing to add to that is if you decide to do it with multiple diamonds leading it, what was fun about that with the Hangouts was that we had 3 Hangouts, one at noon, 8, and 10 Eastern. And we had leaders pair up. We had 2 leaders at noon, so 8 participants, 2 at 8 with 8 participants, and 1 at the end. And then we had 1 sweeper, and that was Vito. And he'd pick up anybody who didn't make one of those Hangouts that day, and he'd reconnect with them the next day. We also didn't need for the people that we invited in our group to be on our own Google Hangout. So I led the noon group, but some of the coaches I brought in participated at 8. But it was fun for them to get some cross-coaching and to meet other leaders. And you don't have to run all the Hangouts by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And another question, and we can kind of feed off of this, is what is the best size for a group? Is there a best size for a group?
Mine was 120. I mean, and we seem to make it work. I mean, we delegated out with the leaders, and we actually keep the same group. So we've all kind of stuck together. I think it's been really a great bonding experience for the team because although I'm not on a Google Hangout with all of them, I'm still seeing people grow. And we just have 2 separate dates. And so we start on the 1st and we start on the 15th, and those 2 groups always stay up. So they're always just reoccurring. And new coaches coming know, okay, I can either join on the 1st or I can join on the 15th, but those are their only 2 choices.
And that was actually one of the questions that I received was, what do you do with a coach who comes in middle of the month? So I know there's a couple of different opinions on that. Anyone else want to share their opinion on that coach that comes in midway?
Yeah, actually, so if I have a coach that comes in midway, I use that as an opportunity to empower them as a leader. And I say, hey, you're going to be in the group a little bit early, so what I'd like for you to do is set the tone and help me set the example for the rest of the group. So I give them the assignments, and I have them complete them first, and then when I have new people coming in toward the end of the month, I have them almost refer to that first coach and say, here's what they did, here's how they handled it, and it really helps that person get comfortable leading other coaches. So when they do hit Emerald, they don't really feel, nervous about coaching somebody else.
I know we talked about this yesterday as well. What's your
Yeah.
feeling on it?
We don't turn the lights on in our group until the first of the month. So just a little bit different strategy. If somebody joins mid-month, there's, in my view, a ton for them to do before they're ready for Coach Basics. So the Coach Basics program doesn't include the GSR. It doesn't include the 7-day quick start. All of that's supposed to be done before they start. So I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of coaches starting on September 10th who are ready to be in a group 5 days later. So for us, we just spend that time one-on-one with their own sponsor, doing their GSR, looking through the back office, watching the challenge videos, prepping for when the lights flip on in the group and everybody's there and ready to go on the first of the month.
And I think you have a strategy too, Doug. We've talked before about how you get people started before. You're actually the way you have planned your group.
Right.
Would you like to share?
Yeah, for us, it's the same way. We make sure that we usually try to schedule it 2 weeks out before we start. And we give them all the pre-work to do so that they are ready to go day one. You flip the lights on and that's the group. And you're also going to have coaches that are going to participate, and you're going to have some coaches that, like most of our groups, that won't participate. And the job is really keeping them engaged in the process. Another thing in starting the group that we did that I think will be real helpful if you're thinking about starting a group, how do you promote this to your team? Every time I've started a group, I've called it a beta test group. And so there's something about being part of a beta test group that excites people. It's like, I want to be part of that. I want to jump in. And I think that's what you shared a little bit earlier, is that excitement there gets them motivated to actually do something and be part of something that's important. So it's been helpful as well.
That's great. So now another question that came in. If you have a diamond on your team that is really not strong enough that you feel to be able to take ownership of their own group, how do you help that diamond coach?
I have a good one for that. I asked all of my diamond leaders to just make a video that I thought was a strong strength for them. So one of my diamonds, Katria, she does not like being on video at all. And I said to her, Katria, you're one of my strongest emeralds. You cap out every single week with your volume. And I would love for you to make a video about that, just to talk about it in the Coach Basics, the importance of being an emerald. And I did that with all of my leaders. I just found a strong point that they were good at talking about and made a video so they could feel that they were more involved with our group.
Anyone else have an answer to that? So I think your strategy really answers that as well, because
you partner them up. So I have in the group starting in October 1st, we have 4 groups of 5 coaches. They don't all know each other. They're not necessarily in each other's downlines. They are just 20 different diamonds on all of Team Rockstar Fit. And they complement each other. And I have one diamond who's amazing at recruiting, amazing at running challenges. Her name is Libby, but she's not amazing at technology, and she would never do this on her own, although she has such a gift to share. So partnering her up with other diamonds has made her feel more confident, her feel more useful to the team, and allowed her to participate in a program that I think would be very challenging to get her to do on her own.
I think also the system lends itself to, again, building the confidence of all the diamonds involved, because you have to be aware of what the daily post is. You have to be doing the same things really right along with your new coaches so you can respond to them. You know what they're reading, right? So it's going to build skills not only with the participants but also with all the diamonds that are leading it as well. So great answers. Is this helpful for all of you? All right. Another question, is this really just for new coaches?
No, it's not.
What we found was extremely helpful. In the first group that I had literally two new coaches that I had signed up the day before that we kicked it off. And so we were able to get a perspective of a brand new coach, but I opened it up to my entire PS coach line. And what we had is we had some diamond coaches, we had some coaches that hadn't been active that wanted to kickstart their business, and we had some brand new coaches. What we found at the end, by the time we had finished, the new coaches loved having the other coaches there that had a little bit more experience. Because when you start building those relationships, you're able to open up a little bit more and share what works in your business, what doesn't. And there was more guidance, so that you as a leader, you provided more leadership within your group where you're sharing and you're throwing these ideas around. And so what we have done then with our groups is we have made sure that we have brand new coaches, coaches that are kind of, haven't been active for a while, and diamond coaches. And what we've also found from the diamonds that have been involved is every group that we have done, those diamonds, within the first week or two, ask for the material so that they can start their own group with their PS coaches. It's duplication, people. It's duplication. And if you don't have a system that's duplicatable like that, you want your business to grow away from you. You want to empower your leaders to be able to take this and run with it. And once your leaders get in there and see how easy it is to lead it, they do run with it. And that's a genius part of this program.
Great. Anyone else want to add
To
to
kind
that?
of piggyback off of that, I saw a lot in my organization, a lot of my diamonds that were frustrated, and they were kind of living that motto, do as I say, not as I do. And so they were telling them to do things that they weren't doing themselves. And so by having them step up and do their own group and leading by example and showing, their team that, hey, this is what I'm doing, not just what I'm saying, leaders step up and they do. And so I think that that's important too, is that if you're sending the audience thinking, this is great, I'm just going to get all my diamonds to do this, but you don't have any intention of doing it yourself, it's not really going to be effective for you.
Yeah, I know, and I heard a lot from the leaders in the pilot groups. It was a couple of things. First of all, the new coaches, if they come in and you just tell them this is what you do, you're gonna go through the GSR, you're gonna get into a Coach Basics group, they just expect that that's what they need to do to get started. They didn't even question it. But the existing coaches who've been around for a while, they're like, well, they're a little more hesitant to actually be held accountable. But what happens is the new coaches, that excitement and enthusiasm, and the not knowing that this isn't what has gone on for the last 5 years at Beachbody, that energy gets everyone else excited to really grow. Because it's hard to sit there in a group, right, and see people hitting Success Club and rank advancing, and you all have the same content, right? You're all asked to do the same thing. So it really, when I showed you the 34% statistic yesterday, there's a reason why that happened. So great.
When I start my group, I do a YouTube video for anybody that applies to be a part of my Coach Basics, and I called it the Coach Apprenticeship Program. And after they signed up to be a coach, I give them a checklist of things that they need to do in order to be accepted into this Coach Basics program. And so they had to watch the Coach Training Academy, and they had to send me their little certificate. And then I would send them this YouTube video that says, you have been accepted into the Coach Basics program. Do you agree to these things, that you will be on a Google Hangout, that you will turn in your BAT every week, that you will participate? And they had to email me back saying, yes, I agree to these things, before I would officially put them in the group. So I made it very official, like a very official process for being a part of this, that it was something special that they were being accepted into.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of you have done that, is you've actually put out an application, something that you've created. How many of you have done that?
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
versions of
I do,
applications too.
Yeah, do an application.
And I
Yeah.
can see I definitely see the value of that, and I like the concept of, really making people commit. Just thinking through the people who've been successful in our group so far, and we're just in our second month right now. But if I had asked a coach, two of the coaches that come to mind in the group that I brought in, who hadn't been successful in the business so far, they were eager about Beachbody, but it just simply gets down to it hadn't fit in their day yet. I don't know that strategy would be helpful to bring in people who are willing to give it another try. I felt like I needed to bring them in a little bit more gently than a more like boss to employee, application, I'm going to tell you what to do mentality that certainly has been very effective for a lot of people, and that can work. But just the idea that if you're looking to give that kind of last-ditch effort to someone you really saw something in, you might need a softer approach for some people. And when I reached out to those in my downline that I really saw something in but hadn't engaged, I just said, this is your chance to try to do this every day of your life and see what happens. And I see something in you, and I believe if you have the support of a team and have support of other people just like you, that you can do this too. And that really helped Eunice and Leanne step forward and want to do the group. So maybe just take a look at the strategy that, is it like a very hardcore application and more employee boss mentality, or is it the, inviting somebody to the table who probably would be too shy to come on their own? Just different ways to consider it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful part to this that you all really need to understand, is you can make it your own. Whatever works for you, whatever style you are as a leader, that's how you want to implement it. We're giving you the framework for you to take and do just that, because we know when you put your coaches through a program, they're going to get results, right? So awesome. So the other thing I want to ask about is the business activity tracker. It was a question that people were asking is how do you get people to stay accountable and share their goals and be accountable? And I know, Melanie, that was your topic. I'll let you answer it, but then if anyone else wants to jump in with that, I'd love to hear it.
So I post my tracker in the group as well, you know, whether I take a picture of it and I try to give feedback about what I stunk at last week or things that I messed up on, and I try to say this is what I'm going to focus on for next week. And then just what I said yesterday about giving them feedback. I mean, every coach wants feedback on what they're doing and if what they're doing is working. So if they know they're going to get a personal email or phone call from me every week, they're much more likely to turn it in. And I talk about it on the call. So if they want to be recognized, then I need to have their business activity tracker so that I can point out the awesome things that they're doing. So, I mean, it's really just, I guess, setting that expectation at the beginning of this is how I'm going to use it so they know the value behind it from my end, too.
Right. And I think that one of the things that I struggled with all of our elite and 5-star and above coaches was the fact that they didn't want to send them to me either. I wonder why. I don't know. And then when I would get them, there were, oh, this week this happened and this. And you know, I think you need to be really clear with your coaches that you're not judging them. You're not out there to pick out this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You're there to support them. And how can you know what the problems are if they don't tell you and they're not showing you? So that is you have to create that supportive, trusting relationship when you're holding people accountable, right? So, but that leads into something else that I know we all experienced. This wasn't asked, but you will ask when you implement these groups. You'll be thinking about this, is drop-off. You have people that they're in the group, they get started, and then all of a sudden, where'd they go? So how do you handle that? Anyone?
I think that's a one-on-one phone call, you know, as simple as reaching out. And I even touched on that a little bit yesterday, finding out what's going on with them. Maybe it's a struggle that they have with, you know, confidence, you know, they're nervous to post in the group, or maybe the group it's not the right time for them to make that level of commitment. So by getting on the phone with them, I think that was the biggest thing I took away from our test group, really connecting with my coaches one-on-one, and then I felt like I knew what was going on with them.
I think that's key. And what we found out, like this last group, we had one lady who was having some health issues, had a surgery, and we had another person that had lost their job the month before when we did the group. And that gives you a great opportunity to get to know what they're doing, be able to continue to build that relationship, but then to be able to invite them to the next group when life is settled down for them. Because life happens to all of us.
Right.
And you have to be willing to work with that. People don't, they want this, and those that are a part of it that are doing something and building it and growing it, and then something happens, they feel terrible when they stop. And the last thing I want to do is fuel that fire of guilt. But I want to be there for them. The group has reached out to them, which is really cool, because now they're reaching out to new friendships that they have, and they know that they're a part of something special rather than people are, thinking down about them based upon, because they weren't able to follow through on it. And leaving that door open is key.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think one of the things I heard from some of the leaders in the group as well was finding some cheerleaders in the group, that when someone was not posting, those cheerleaders were cheering them on. And you always know who they are in your group, right? I'm sure you see it in your fitness challenge groups as well. So you pull those people and you ask them, can you be the cheerleader? So it's not always coming from the leader, and it's building a leader in the end, right? So another big question, or did you want to add?
Well, just one way that maybe to look at preventing drop-off, I think one thing that worked for us was because we had 5 different people leading it, we were each only in charge of the post once every 5 days. So I was in charge of the post yesterday. And I went off script and rogue because we're out here and I don't know what day 41 was. I could have looked, but I thought I'd rather just be timely and just share what's happening. So I talked about the importance of an event and being in an event and how they really should highly consider researching saving money and talking to their family about Summit. So yesterday, their assignment was to read about Summit and to tell 2 people in their life why they needed to be there. So then the rest of my job yesterday was, before I went to bed last night, I had to tag all the participants who hadn't responded yet. So they're hearing from a leader that day before midnight, and we really drive almost 100% participation in our posts because we are very committed that day to responding to what everybody's saying. They're asking questions about Summit. They liked my video. They had questions on it, and I only had to be game on that day. Now today, it's Vito's day. I don't know what's happening in the group. I'll check it later, right? But it really helped us keep them more engaged because when you're on, you're really on, and you are willing to reach out and pull those people back in. If that helps, just sharing the workload, tagging the people, and we had very little drop off.
That's great. And now, how many of you took the content and made a lot of videos based on the content? Instead of did you all see that? That a lot of our coaches actually took the daily post, created a video based on the topic, and put that in their Facebook. I know, Doug, you're really big on that.
Yeah, when we had those 2 brand new coaches, the very first group, I was so excited because I wanted to see, as we did this test group, I wanted to see what questions did they have that weren't being answered by the group posts themselves. And so what we did then is I kept a topic list of that, and then I began doing videos that would explain or share that information with them. I call it CEO to CEO, which is available for them, but it's also available for the entire network. But what it now has for me is it gives me a library of topics. So when our coaches have coaches that have questions about specific things, now all they got to do is direct them back to a video that can specifically answer their question in 5 minutes. And we found that's really helpful. I mean, it's been a huge help to our team. Not just with the Coach Basics program, but that has spread now, throughout the entire team to use as a tool.
That's great.
So.
And now the hottest topic during the beta test group, 30 days versus 60 days, right? Wasn't that like the hottest topic? And it was, I mean, I tracked who said what, so I could see, and it was like split evenly down the middle. So I'm sure that some of you are thinking the same thing, 30 versus 60. So of course, we did create 2 30-day modules to try to make it a little easier for you to figure this out with your style. But I would love to hear some opinions on just that.
Can I go first?
Sure.
Okay, so I am highly motivated by fun. So if the group isn't fun and if it doesn't feel like I can do this, then I lose interest. So for my team, the 30 days was way more effective to say, okay, just give me this month. Everyone participate this month, and if you stick with it and you participate, then you have the opportunity to graduate to the next month. So we do 60 days, but the way that I structure it and the way that I word it, it's 30 days, because that to me seems more attainable.
I ran mine kind of like I run my challenge group. So I have a 1.0 version, which is 30 days, and a 2.0 version, which is another 30 days. For me, let's just be real, I don't love working out. So challenge groups have always been an issue for me. So when I do the 30 days and I can make it fun, it's easier for me to also engage. So that's how I also ran that group. It was a graduation thing. And to kind of go back to the, if someone drops off, I don't ever boot anyone out of any of the coaching groups. And that's because, life happens. Actually, when this was going on, I was maybe one of those people that was a little bit hard to get a BAT from. And
I don't know if I got a BAT from you, actually.
I actually, admitting fault, I never got on a Google Hangout. So there, for me during that time, I was really excited about it, but there was a lot going on in our life. Adam had lost a teammate, and I was taking that very hardly. So I'm putting on the face, to be there for my team, but it was so hard to be everywhere. And so because I know life happens, it happens for other people. And I found that there were some people who didn't complete the first 30 days or even the 60, but later, because they were still in that group and they randomly got a notification, that was a reminder of why they were there to begin with. And they recycled through, messaged me, hey, I fell off. Can I start back over when you guys start? And I was like, absolutely. And that was a person that I knew to watch. So with my videos, they're all unlisted. And I do that because, we all have followers, and I don't want my YouTube people to be so confused, like, what is she talking about? This order doesn't make sense. And it would only make sense to them if they were in my group. And so they have access to those videos all the time, even if their time wasn't now at the current moment.
So we did 30 days, and I think the reason why we liked the 30-day idea was that it seemed like it was something we could all be fired up and excited about, and we weren't sure going into it how it was going to work, but 30 days seemed like something we could bite off and chew. And the way we put it out there was that we invited them to 30 days, and then they were invited based on their completion or participation in the first 30 days. It wasn't a given that they were in the next round, but they had to be personally invited. So within a week or two into it, people were messaging us like, am I going to be in? What do you think? How am I doing, right? So you totally flip the switch from like begging people to train. You're training. I would love for you to stay, right? To flip that switch and have them be invited. And I know we're closing up on time. I just want to share a couple quick ideas. You asked on an earlier question about how many people personalize the post with videos. Another great idea for personalizing the post, especially if you've got an upline like I have. So I have Janelle and Christine who pump out, insane content. So I really feel like it didn't just need to be my content or Vito's or Ashley's. Like, we reached out to other leaders in our organization. I posted Janelle's video. I posted her tips on social media. I used national coach calls. I used Amber's national coach calls. So we pulled in pieces from the whole network and from our own team and upline to show them, to personalize it even more. I would say that we kept about 40% of the content, maybe 30%, and altered, adjusted, or added to about 70%. And that's what kept it fun and interesting for us and easy for other leaders who already have programs to take this one, knowing you can add your own stuff to it.
Great answer. And that is really the beauty of the program, because we're constantly adding more content to give you. We're always creating more videos as well for you to use. We always have new national coach calls every week, so you do want to be able to plug in content when it comes available to you. So that's a really great point. And that, actually, we're going to wrap it up, but I want to answer a couple other questions. And one of them was, I saw this from quite a few people that came in, and it's about why is the Coach Basics group available to everyone? And as you saw, it is available to everyone in the Coach Online office. Personally, and we chatted about this as well before, we really don't think that it's going to be a problem. Did any of you feel that it was going to be an issue who had access to Coach Basics? But with this program, it's new. We are learning, we're growing, and we're adapting with this program. If it does become a problem, then we may make a different decision with how it becomes available to you. But I also want to be clear that you may have some emeralds who are stronger than some of the diamonds on your team, right? Right. You've seen some people that have come in who are ready to lead a program. You may have some coaches. I know, Doug, we talked about this yesterday. He is already talking to his coaches in the group about leading a group themselves. So I don't foresee it as a problem. So don't let yourself foresee it as a problem. Just go with it and start implementing it. And the other question that came up was what if you have a coach who goes to their diamond and their diamond says, I'm not running a program? So we chatted about this one, and so just really brief, who wants to, was that, who?
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I have a lot of coaches, as we all do. You go to your Facebook page and like, I wish you could mentor me and train me. And I know we have to stick with our priorities, and that's important. But for me, because I already had the content, it was already there. I said to my friend, who's a best-selling author, I said, hey, why don't we use your book? And let's plug that in, and we'll just coach these people. So we had 500 coaches, no direct reflection to me, and that's because I reached out to Jimmy Nelson and Jason and Chris, and they're not based off of my success, but it was a coaching effect, and they were like, hey, let me help you, let me see what you're confused on. And so I wanted to pay that forward to other coaches and say, hey, this is a beta group that I was in, I tweaked, take it as you will if you want to take the post as I go. And I think a lot of us as leaders, we have to stop getting that scarcity feeling, like there's only so many people that can be coaches, and for me, sharing that content was just a way of opening it up, so,
Well, I think one thing that is clear, and one need that I have seen even in just the day and a half in talking to all of you, is that if you're a diamond who is not doing whether you're calling it Coach Basics or you're calling it, all the apprentice group or whatever, if you have a coach who has a diamond who's not doing a program, then that's a problem. That means that diamond needs some confidence and needs some help to work with another group, to be included into a pod. I love that term. So I think it's just an opportunity to help a diamond grow and learn and include them in what you're doing as a leader. So don't look at it as a negative. Look at it as a way to not only help that new coach who's raising their hand and saying, I want this, but also helping a diamond who may be hesitant because they just don't have the confidence. So final question I want to answer. Yes, the program has been translated to Spanish. We are just trying to get everything formatted, and it should be online within a week, I would think, at the most. So that was another common question. So one more thing. We may not have answered all your questions here this morning, so I created Team Beachbody Coach Basics. It's a Facebook group. What I would really love for you to do is go there, post your questions, but also post your stories. I want to hear your successes, and I also want to be able to help you with your challenges. So direct your leaders to go there, and please participate as well. The reason why this program is as strong as it is because of all of you who helped create it. As I said yesterday, this is not corporate, this is team. So let's share that wheel so no one else has to reinvent it. You know, post in that group what your best tips are, and I know I'd really appreciate being engaged with all of you and helping you drive the success of this program. So let's give these coaches another great round of applause for, they raised their hand, they stuck it out with me, and look at the amazing impact that they have had not only with their businesses, but also with all the coaches in their organization. So thank you so much.